The Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile has captivated audiences for centuries, but in the early 20th century, it was her disappearance that stole the spotlight. The audacious theft from the Louvre thrust the masterpiece into the global spotlight, and with it, a shadowy figure named Eduardo de Valfierno emerged, claiming to be the mastermind behind a web of forgeries. But was de Valfierno a cunning criminal or a master storyteller spinning a fantastical tale? Delve into the enduring mystery of the Mona Lisa heist and explore the legend of de Valfierno, the man who may have been the ultimate con artist. Eduardo de Valfierno, a name as enigmatic as his purported deeds, is said to be an Argentine conman who weaved his way through the early 20th century art world. His existence itself is a source of debate, but the legend paints him as a cunning individual who rose from humble beginnings to become a notorious art thief. Little is known about de Valfierno's early life. Some accounts place his birth in Buenos Aires around 1850. He supposedly started by honing his charm and charisma, transforming himself from a nobody into the suave Marqués de Valfierno, a title of nobility he allegedly fabricated. While concrete proof remains elusive, the story goes that de Valfierno masterminded a scheme that exploited the commotion of a grand theft to turn a hefty profit. He allegedly commissioned forgeries of the Mona Lisa by a skilled artist, Yves Chaudron. These high-quality replicas would then be dispersed around the globe to carefully chosen, affluent individuals. With whispers of the real Mona Lisa's disappearance swirling, the forgeries would instantly become far more valuable. De Valfierno could then approach his pre-selected clientele, each one convinced they were acquiring the one true stolen masterpiece. The cunning of the plan lay in its independence from the actual possession of the real Mona Lisa. This allowed him to exploit the frenzy surrounding the heist, transforming the stolen artwork into a tool for manipulating the art market and swindling unsuspecting collectors. De Valfierno wasn't simply after the prestige of owning the Mona Lisa. He saw it as a key to unlocking a far greater reward, the chance to orchestrate a grand confidence trick on a global scale. This legendary scheme, if true, speaks volumes about his cunning and greed, forever etching his name in the annals of art world intrigue, even if it's shrouded in a veil of mystery. Orchestrating a daring art heist, like the supposed theft of the Mona Lisa, wouldn't have been a one-man show for Eduardo de Valfierno. He would have needed a carefully chosen team to pull it off. Vincenzo Peruggia, the man ultimately credited with the act, was a crucial cog in the machine. An Italian handyman working at the Louvre, Peruggia possessed intimate knowledge of the museum's layout, and most importantly, its security vulnerabilities. De Valfierno's charm and persuasive powers might have been the key to recruiting Peruggia. Disgruntled with his job, or perhaps enticed by the promise of a hefty reward, Peruggia would have been the one to bypass security and remove the Mona Lisa from its place of honor. But simply getting the painting out wasn't enough. This is where Yves Chaudron, a forger with an uncanny ability to mimic artistic styles, would have entered the picture. De Valfierno, with his own background in forgeries, might have recognized Chaudron's talent and recruited him to create a replica of the Mona Lisa. This replica could serve multiple purposes. Imagine a scenario where a near-perfect copy takes the place of the original, allowing the real Mona Lisa to be whisked away undetected. The replica could also be used as bait, drawing attention away from the real painting while it's hidden, or even sold to an unsuspecting collector, further enriching de Valfierno's scheme. With Peruggia providing access, Chaudron creating a near-perfect replica, and Valfierno orchestrating the plan, this trio would have formed the heart of a daring, if entirely fictional, art heist. The Parisian summer hummed with a usual languor on August 21st, 1911. Inside the Louvre, however, a different kind of heat was palpable, the quiet tension of a meticulously planned act about to unfold. Our protagonist, Vincenzo Peruggia, an unassuming Italian handyman who blended into the background like a shadow, felt a prickle of nervous excitement under his work smock. Today was the day. The weeks leading up to this point had been a whirlwind of hushed conversations and meticulous planning. Peruggia, fueled by a questionable sense of patriotism and perhaps a thirst for notoriety, had been swayed by the shadowy promises of Eduardo de Valfierno, the enigmatic conman. The plan, audacious in its simplicity, hinged on the Louvre's surprisingly lax security measures. Peruggia, with his intimate knowledge of the Louvre's labyrinthine corridors, knew exactly when the coast was clear. He lingered after closing time, pretending to clean, his heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. As the last stragglers shuffled out and the guards prepared to lock up, Peruggia made his move. He slipped into a small, unguarded storage closet used for cleaning supplies. Operating solo, Peruggia leveraged his extensive knowledge of the Louvre's layout to execute the heist. The minutes ticked by like hours in the suffocating darkness. Finally, when the distant clang of the main gate closing confirmed the museum was empty, Peruggia emerged from his hiding place. The vast, echoing halls of the Louvre were eerily silent, bathed in the pale, ethereal glow of the moon filtering through the high windows. He moved with the stealth of a panther, his worn shoes making no sound on the polished marble floor. He knew exactly where he was going. The Mona Lisa's portrait wasn't far, a familiar landmark in his daily routine. With trembling fingers, he unlatched the simple wooden case that housed the Mona Lisa. The hinges creaked faintly, a sound that seemed to amplify in the deathly silence. He held his breath, listening for any sign of movement, any indication he'd been spotted. There was nothing. His heart pounded a victory march as he carefully lifted the painting from its frame. He slipped it under his smock, the thin canvas surprisingly rigid against his chest. His pulse hammered a frantic tattoo against his ribs. He retraced his steps, his every nerve on high alert. The once familiar corridors now seemed to stretch on endlessly, filled with menacing shadows. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like an approaching alarm. But luck, it seemed, was on his side. He reached the exit undetected, melting into the Parisian night like a phantom. The Mona Lisa, a silent, stolen treasure hidden beneath his worn smock. News of the theft wouldn't break for another day, sending shockwaves through the art world. But for Vincenzo Peruggia, that night, the Louvre was his oyster, and the following morning, as the Louvre bustled with anticipation for another day of visitors, Peruggia walked out undetected. The theft of the Mona Lisa sent shockwaves rippling across the globe. Theories about the missing masterpiece flew thick and fast. Parisian detectives tirelessly pursued various leads, from a student seen with a suspicious package to a museum worker spotting a shadowy figure. Their investigations stretched internationally, with authorities in Spain and Germany following up on dead ends like a cleverly made replica and a manipulative conman. Despite the frustrating chase, public interest in the heist remained insatiable. Newspapers fanned the flames with sensationalized reports, ranging from the whimsical notion of a love-struck admirer to the grim reality of a gaping hole in artistic heritage. The public's fascination was further fueled by a silent film inspired by the event, The Disappearance of the Mona Lisa, solidifying the heist's place in popular culture. The creation of Mona Lisa forgeries, particularly by Vincenzo Peruggia and his associates, unfolded like a cunning heist within a heist. Peruggia, an Italian patriot more interested in retrieving the artwork than personal gain, stole the original Mona Lisa from the Louvre in 1911. This audacious act provided a window of opportunity for forgers like Yves Chaudron to capitalize on the public's obsession with the missing masterpiece. Chaudron's task, however, was far from simple. Unlike a standard copy, a successful forgery necessitates meticulous attention to detail. Chaudron had to not only replicate the enigmatic smile and veiled expression of the Mona Lisa, but also the subtle nuances of Leonardo da Vinci's brushstrokes and the intricate network of cracks, known as craquelure, that had formed on the painting's surface over centuries. These subtle details, invisible to the untrained eye, were precisely what separated a convincing forgery from a mere imitation. Once Chaudron and other forgers had created their replicas, the challenge shifted to distribution. A network of art dealers, acting as middlemen, came into play. These dealers targeted unsuspecting buyers, often wealthy individuals or collectors, with a limited knowledge of art history and the intricacies of authentication. The forger's strategy was often twofold. Some replicas were positioned as works from Leonardo da Vinci's workshop, suggesting they were created alongside the original by his students or assistants. Others were presented as earlier versions of the Mona Lisa, playing into the allure of owning a supposedly unknown masterpiece. This strategy preyed on the lack of expertise and the desire for exclusivity among some collectors, ultimately duping them into purchasing a high-quality fake. The theft itself had been a whirlwind, a surge of adrenaline and a desperate dash into the Parisian night with the most famous painting in the world tucked beneath his arm. But now, in the cramped confines of his Parisian apartment, Vincenzo Peruggia found himself face to face with an unsettling reality: silence. The Mona Lisa, once the centerpiece of a bustling museum, now hung shrouded in a dark corner, a silent witness to Peruggia's peculiar solitude. His days were a strange mix of fear and a perverse sense of possession. Fear gnawed at him constantly. Every creak of the floorboards, every knock on the door sent a jolt through him. Newspapers plastered the city with desperate pleas for the painting's return, each headline a stark reminder of the precariousness of his situation. He ventured out only when absolutely necessary, his heart hammering in his chest, the Mona Lisa a constant secret weight in his backpack. Loneliness gnawed at him too. He couldn't share his secret with anyone, the weight of the deception isolating him further. The Mona Lisa, once a symbol of shared cultural heritage, became a barrier, a constant reminder of the line he had crossed. By the end of the 2 years, the thrill of the theft had long evaporated. Peruggia was a prisoner, not just of the authorities, but of his own actions. When he finally attempted to sell the painting, it wasn't for a grand reward, but for a desperate hope to be free, to escape the prison he had built around himself. Two years had passed since Vincenzo Peruggia had slipped out of the Louvre, with the Mona Lisa tucked under his arm. The thrill of the heist had morphed into a suffocating secret. The once vibrant painting hung like a ghost in his Parisian apartment, a constant reminder of his isolation. He craved normalcy, a way out of this self-imposed purgatory. Driven by desperation, Peruggia hatched a plan. He believed the Mona Lisa rightfully belonged in Italy, stolen by Napoleon centuries ago. So, he penned a letter, signed simply Leonardo, offering to return the masterpiece for a price to the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. The letter landed on the desk of Alfredo Gheri, a Florentine art dealer. The elegant script and the weight of the words sent shivers down Gheri's spine. Could it be true? The Mona Lisa, back in Italy? Intrigued yet cautious, Gheri contacted Giovanni Poggi, the director of the Uffizi. Together, they hatched a daring counterplan. They agreed to meet with Leonardo, a man they strongly suspected to be Peruggia, and play along. The anticipation was electric as Peruggia arrived in Florence, the Mona Lisa hidden in a worn trunk. He nervously unwrapped the painting, her enigmatic smile a stark contrast to the tense air in the room. Minutes later, plainclothes officers swarmed the room, Peruggia's face draining of color as his audacious plan crumbled around him. News of the Mona Lisa's recovery sent shockwaves through both Italy and France. In Italy, there was an outpouring of national pride. The lost daughter was finally home, even if only for a short time. Parades filled the streets, newspapers hailed Peruggia as a national hero, albeit a misguided one. The recovered Mona Lisa became a national treasure in Italy for 2 glorious weeks. Thousands lined up for a glimpse of the enigmatic masterpiece. But ultimately, she had to return to Paris, a bittersweet homecoming for the French. Vincenzo Peruggia's trial in 1914 was a spectacle. The man who had stolen the world's most famous painting was now on trial, and the verdict was far from certain. Peruggia's defense hinged on patriotism. He claimed he was merely returning a stolen masterpiece to its rightful home in Italy. This argument resonated with many Italians who felt Napoleon's looting of Italian art was a national humiliation. The courtroom buzzed with a mix of outrage and admiration. Peruggia wasn't a hardened criminal, but a man driven by a misplaced sense of national pride. Peruggia's claim of patriotism, coupled with the lack of personal gain from the theft, softened the judge's stance. While acknowledging the severity of the crime, the court acknowledged the mitigating factors. In the end, Peruggia received a sentence far lighter than many expected, a mere 1 year and 15 days. However, public opinion outside of Italy remained largely critical. The French, understandably, viewed Peruggia as a criminal who had tarnished their national treasure. But in Italy, the cheers continued. Peruggia served only a fraction of his sentence before being released. forever marked as a man who stole the Mona Lisa, not for personal gain, but for a twisted sense of love for his country. The story of Vincenzo Peruggia's theft of the Mona Lisa is undeniably dramatic, but a layer of mystery surrounds the supposed involvement of his accomplice, Eduardo Valfierno, and the circulation of forgeries. Valfierno, a known forger, entered the picture through a confession letter he wrote to a friend years after the heist. However, skepticism abounds. The letter's authenticity remains unverified, and Valfierno's claims of creating multiple high-quality forgeries have never been substantiated. Adding to the doubt is the enigmatic figure of art dealer Carl Decker. Decker corroborated Valfierno's story, claiming to have sold one of the forgeries. However, Decker was known for embellishing narratives and had a history of forgeries himself. The biggest hurdle to the existence of these forgeries is the sheer absence of any physical proof. Despite years of investigation, no forgeries created by Valfierno or anyone else connected to the Mona Lisa theft have ever surfaced. The lack of credible witnesses, verifiable documentation, or even a single recovered forgery casts a long shadow over the entire narrative. In 1914, the Mona Lisa finally returned to the Louvre. The homecoming, though joyous, was tinged with the national embarrassment of the theft. Yet, this very theft, ironically, had catapulted the painting into global superstardom. News reports of the daring heist and the subsequent international chase had turned the Mona Lisa into a household name. The theft exposed security vulnerabilities at museums worldwide. Alarms and stricter surveillance measures were implemented to safeguard precious artworks. The Mona Lisa herself became a permanent resident behind bulletproof glass, a necessary but symbolic barrier between the masterpiece and the public. Despite the stricter security, the Mona Lisa's fame continued to soar. The once quiet portrait became a pop culture icon, reproduced on everything from postcards to t-shirts. The theft had turned her enigmatic smile into a universal symbol, a testament to the enduring allure of art and the lengths people would go to possess it. The Mona Lisa theft cast a long shadow on the art world, leaving behind a legacy that's both fascinating and troubling. On one hand, the heist undeniably fueled our fascination with art heists. The audacious act of stealing a priceless artwork became ingrained in popular culture, inspiring movies, books, and countless documentaries. This intrigue, in turn, heightened the public's appreciation for art, turning the Mona Lisa from a revered masterpiece to a global icon. However, the theft also exposed the vulnerability of museums and cultural institutions. The lax security that allowed Peruggia to walk away with the Mona Lisa prompted museums worldwide to implement stricter security measures. Alarms, surveillance systems, and bulletproof glass enclosures became the norm, forever altering the way we interact with art. In conclusion, the theft of the Mona Lisa remains a pivotal moment in art history. It not only secured the painting's place as a global icon, but also forced the art world to grapple with the delicate balance between accessibility and security. Eduardo de Valfierno, the shadowy figure at the heart of the Mona Lisa forgery conspiracy, continues to be an enigma long after the dust settled on the heist. Did this self-proclaimed mastermind create replicas so convincing they duped astute collectors, or was he a cunning mythomaniac spinning a fantastical yarn to inflate his reputation as the ultimate con artist? The absence of any recovered forgeries or any independent verification of his story throws his claims into serious doubt. Perhaps Valfierno, sensing the public's growing fascination with the stolen Mona Lisa, saw an opportunity to insert himself into the narrative. By crafting a story so audacious and intricate, he ensured it would be difficult to disprove. The possibility of forgeries existing somewhere in the shadowy corners of the art world can't be entirely dismissed. After all, the art world is riddled with forgeries, some so meticulously crafted that they remain undetected for years. However, the complete absence of even a single confirmed Valfierno forgery suggests they might be figments of his imagination, cleverly woven tales that died with him. Regardless of the truth, Valfierno's story serves as a cautionary tale about the seductive power of a well-crafted narrative. In a world obsessed with art heists and daring schemes, the line between truth and fiction can easily blur, leaving us to grapple with the lingering question: was Eduardo de Valfierno a brilliant forger or the ultimate con artist? The Mona Lisa theft remains a captivating chapter in art history, forever intertwined with the enigmatic smile of the subject herself. Do you have a favorite art heist story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Mona Lisa theft, consider liking this article and subscribing to our channel for more dives into the fascinating world of art history. There's always something new to discover.